He was never caught. For over 50 years, the name Zodiac has haunted California. A killer unlike any other. A murderer who demanded the spotlight and refused to remain silent. Most killers hide in darkness, desperate to escape the law. But this man was different. He stepped into the open and announced himself to the world. Imagine the morning of an ordinary day. You pour coffee, you open the newspaper, and staring back at you is a letter. Not a headline, not a rumor. A letter from the killer himself. In that letter, he mocked the police. He laughed at their failures. He promised he would strike again. He told the public they should be afraid, and he wanted them to read his words while eating breakfast. Neighbors began looking over their shoulders. Parents kept children closer on their walks to school. Every slow car on a quiet street became a reason to hold your breath. He didn't hide. He invited the world to watch, not for fame, not for fortune, not for mercy, only for fear. He signed his words with a mark, a circle divided by a cross. Cold, mechanical, precise, like the scope of a rifle, simple, unforgettable. He called himself the Zodiac. Who was he? A calculating genius hiding behind codes and ciphers, a madman obsessed with control, or a phantom disguised as an ordinary man? How do you catch a killer when the killer wants you to see him? Decades have passed, generations have come and gone, yet his shadow still lingers. California in the late 1960s was a place of contrasts. On postcards, it was sunshine, palm trees, and endless beaches. But beneath the surface, the state was restless. The Vietnam War raged overseas. Every night, families gathered around their televisions as news anchors read casualty counts. The numbers climbed higher, and silence filled living rooms across America. On college campuses, thousands of students marched in protest. They carried banners, chanted slogans, clashed with police in clouds of tear gas. The air was alive with rebellion, yet heavy with fear. The summer of love had ended. Its bright colors faded, replaced by unease. Drugs spread through the streets. Crime crept into neighborhoods once considered safe. Political assassinations reminded everyone that even leaders were not untouchable. California became a mirror of America's turmoil. San Francisco vibrated with music and revolution. Los Angeles shimmered with Hollywood dreams. Yet in quiet suburbs, families locked their doors earlier. Mothers warned their children not to trust strangers. Couples hesitated before parking on lonely roads. Every shadow seemed to hold a threat. Every slow car rolling by became a reason to hold your breath. Even the sound of footsteps on a sidewalk could make you turn your head, heart pounding. And if you lived in California then, you would never look at a stranger's car the same way again. It began on a cold December night, 1968. Lake Herman Road, an isolated stretch on the edge of Vallejo, California, a place where young couples park their cars, searching for privacy beneath the stars. That night, David Faraday and Betty Lou Jensen, teenagers filled with plans for the future, pulled over on the side of the road. They had no way of knowing they weren't alone. Minutes later, headlights appeared. A second car pulled up beside them. The driver stepped out, a figure in the darkness, and without a word, he opened fire. David was shot once, execution style, behind the ear. Betty Lou ran. She made it 28 feet before collapsing, 5 bullets in her back. 2 young lives ended before they even began. 2 seconds of silence, only wind in the background. The killer slipped away into the night, leaving behind blood, shell casings, and questions. No robbery, no sexual assault, no motive anyone could understand, only senseless brutality. When police arrived, the scene was haunting. The stillness of the car, the bodies of 2 teenagers, the silence of a road that had become a killing ground. Lake Herman Road was supposed to be quiet, but on that December night, it became the beginning of something far darker. 6 months later, on the night of July 4th, 1969, another car sat parked in the quiet lot of Blue Rock Springs Park. Inside were Darlene Ferrin and her friend Michael Maggio. All across Vallejo, fireworks had just faded. The sky still glowed faintly with smoke, the echoes of celebration drifting away. Families drove home laughing, children clutching sparklers. But here, on the dark edge of the park, silence replaced the joy. And once again, they were not alone. A car pulled up beside them. The driver paused, then left. Moments later, the same vehicle returned. This time, the man inside stepped out. A heavy-set figure, thick-rimmed glasses catching the headlight glow, and aimed a gun directly into the passenger window. Without warning, he opened fire. Bullets tore through the car. Darlene was hit again and again. Michael collapsed, bleeding, but somehow still alive. The gunman walked away, then returned. He fired again, making sure the job was finished. But Michael Maggio did not die. Wounded, terrified, he would later tell police what he remembered. A man moving with chilling calm, his face hidden in shadow, his glasses catching the glow of headlights. The details were few, but one truth was certain. The killer had struck again, and he was escalating. Imagine surviving, knowing he might return. Every sound at night becomes a threat. Every passing car could hold the Zodiac inside. The attacks at Lake Herman Road and Blue Rock Springs sent shockwaves through California. 2 scenes of horror, 3 young lives stolen. 1 survivor left scarred forever. News of the shooting spread quickly. Headlines screamed across newspapers. Radio stations carried the grim details. Parents warned their children. Teenagers who once parked on quiet roads no longer felt safe. The fear was no longer confined to a single town. It spread, mile by mile, into neighborhoods, schools, and workplaces. The idea that someone, somewhere, was hunting at random made ordinary routines feel dangerous. Police scrambled for answers. Shell casings, witness statements, sketches pieced together from memory. But nothing fit into a clear picture. The killer had left behind no motive, no traceable identity, only terror. For Michael Maggio, the survivor, every night was heavy with dread. He had looked into the face of the Zodiac and lived, but survival came with its own torment. Imagine lying awake, replaying the sound of gunfire, the image of headlights in the dark, wondering if the man who tried to kill you might one day return. California was holding its breath. The police had no answers. The public had no safety. And yet, the Zodiac was only beginning. On the afternoon of September 27, 1969, the calm waters of Lake Berryessa reflected a perfect autumn sky. College students Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard spread out a blanket on the shore. It was supposed to be a simple picnic, a quiet escape from the noise of campus life, but unseen eyes were already on them. From a distance, a man approached. He wore a black hood, square and angular, with sunglasses covering his eyes. On his chest, stitched in white, was a strange symbol, a circle divided by a cross, the mark of the Zodiac. He held a gun. And then he spoke. His words were chilling. "I'm an escaped convict. I just killed a guard. I need your car and your money." Brian and Cecilia froze. The man tied their wrists with rope. At first it seemed like a robbery, but then, without warning, he pulled out a knife. Brian was stabbed 6 times. Cecilia was stabbed 10. Her screams echoed across the lake. Then, silence. 2 young lovers. Their afternoon turned into a nightmare. Brian survived his wounds. Cecilia did not. 3 seconds of silence, only faint wind and water. Before leaving, the killer walked to Brian's car. With a black marker, he drew the Zodiac symbol on the door. Beneath it, he wrote the dates of his previous murders and the word Vallejo, a taunt, a signature, a promise that he would kill again. Lake Berryessa should have been a place of peace. Instead, it became the stage for one of the most terrifying encounters in American true crime history. On the night of October 11, 1969, San Francisco felt alive with its usual weekend pulse. Taxis crisscrossed the city. Neon lights glowed above the streets. And in Presidio Heights, a quiet neighborhood was about to become infamous. Paul Stine, a 29-year-old cab driver, picked up a passenger near Union Square. The fare was supposed to be routine, just another ride across town. But his destination would be his last. At the corner of Washington and Cherry, the passenger leaned forward. A single gunshot shattered the night. Paul Stine collapsed against the steering wheel, killed instantly. The killer did not flee. He calmly wiped down the taxi, tore away a piece of Stine's shirt, and walked into the night, vanishing among the houses like an ordinary man. But this time, there were witnesses. Teenagers in a nearby home saw the crime unfold through their window. They called the police, describing the suspect as a white male in his 30s. Responding officers rushed to the area, and here is the moment that still shocks investigators today. Police actually spoke to the Zodiac that night and let him walk away. A communication error had sent them looking for a black male suspect. So when two officers stopped a man fitting the true description, they exchanged a few words, then waved him on. Imagine that. The most wanted killer in California, questioned and released. What if the man you just passed on a dark street was him? The murder of Paul Stine proved that Zodiac could kill in the heart of a city, in plain sight, and still escape, a phantom hiding in the open. San Francisco was shaken. A cab driver murdered in the heart of the city. Witnesses, police on the scene within minutes, and still, the killer vanished. The public demanded answers. Was this random? Or was it the work of the same man who had terrorized Vallejo? Inside police stations, tension ran high. Officers replayed the night again and again, haunted by the knowledge that they had spoken to the Zodiac and let him slip away. Fear now stretched beyond lovers' lanes and country roads. If the Zodiac could kill in plain sight, no one was safe. Not students, not couples, not even taxi drivers working crowded streets. And just when the city was at its most desperate, when police searched for a trace of his face, a new voice entered the story. One that could be printed, read, and shared. And then, the letters began. On July 31st, 1969, just weeks after the Blue Rock Springs attack, 3 major newspapers in California received envelopes. Inside were nearly identical letters, each beginning with chilling words. "This is the Zodiac speaking." It was the first time the name appeared, and it came signed not with handwriting, but with a symbol. A circle crossed by a vertical and horizontal line. Cold, simple, mechanical. The mark of the Zodiac. Each letter claimed responsibility for the shootings at Lake Herman Road and Blue Rock Springs, and each demanded that the enclosed cipher, a puzzle of strange symbols, be printed on the front page of the paper. If not, the killer promised more deaths. The cipher was 408 characters long, an intricate grid of symbols, circles, and coded shapes. Experts struggled, but it was not the police who solved it. It was a school teacher, Donald Hardin, and his wife Betty. Together, they cracked most of the code. What they found was a confession of sorts. Zodiac wrote of killing for pleasure, describing murder as the most thrilling experience. But the message broke off before revealing his name. One section, still unsolved, remains a mystery to this day. For the first time, California realized this was not just a killer, it was a game, and the whole state had just been forced to play. The first cipher had been cracked, but Zodiac was far from finished. In November of 1969, he mailed another code, a dense block of 340 symbols, the Z340 cipher. Experts, cryptographers, even the FBI struggled for decades. For more than 50 years, it resisted every attempt. Only in 2020 was much of it finally decoded, revealing taunts and threats. But again, no name. Then came the shorter puzzles, a 13-character cipher known as Z13. It seemed to promise his identity, but the symbols revealed nothing clear. Another, Z32, supposedly contained directions to a hidden bomb. Police searched. No bomb was ever found, and to this day, those ciphers remain mysteries. Zodiac wanted more than bodies. He wanted obsession. He wanted sleepless nights for those who stared at his codes. Some of his words remain unsolved to this day. Imagine holding the newspaper in your hands, staring at symbols no one can read. Lines, circles, shapes arranged to mock you. What if the code was meant for you, and you just haven't solved it yet? When it came to suspects, one name rose above all the rest: Arthur Leigh Allen. Allen was a former school teacher, dismissed after accusations of inappropriate behavior with children. He lived in Vallejo, close to the first Zodiac crime scenes. He owned weapons and had a fascination with ciphers. To investigators, the pieces began to fit. In 1971, a friend came forward, claiming Allen had spoken openly about wanting to kill couples at lovers' lanes. The friend remembered Allen describing the perfect way to hunt people, almost word for word like the Zodiac. Police and the FBI took action. They searched Allen's trailer, his car, and his mother's home. And in one unforgettable moment, agents opened a drawer and found a watch, a Zodiac brand wristwatch. On its face was the same symbol that had terrified California, a circle with a cross through it. For investigators, it felt like a smoking gun. But there was a problem. Handwriting samples didn't match the Zodiac letters. Fingerprints were inconclusive. And DNA tests years later failed to tie Allen directly to the crimes. He remained the prime suspect for decades, but suspicion is not proof. Arthur Leigh Allen died in 1992, never charged, never convicted. Was he the Zodiac, or just a man who looked the part too perfectly? Arthur Leigh Allen was not the only man investigators pursued. Over the years, dozens of names surfaced. Among them, two stood out. Richard Gaikowski was a journalist in San Francisco, known for his eccentric behavior and radical politics. Some claimed his appearance resembled sketches of the Zodiac. His writings were filled with strange, cryptic language. A former colleague swore his voice matched the one heard in Zodiac's phone calls to police. But when tested against evidence, nothing concrete emerged. No fingerprints, no DNA, only suspicion. Then there was Lawrence Kane, a troubled man with a history of stalking women. He lived close to several crime scenes. Survivor Kathleen Johns, who escaped a kidnapping attempt, later picked Kane's photo out of a lineup. She was convinced he was the Zodiac. Investigators also noted Kane's neurological issues from a car accident. Some believed it explained the erratic spelling in Zodiac's letters. Still, the evidence was circumstantial. No physical proof tied him directly to the killings. Each new suspect brought a wave of hope, and each time, that hope collapsed under the weight of doubt. The Zodiac seemed to hover like a ghost, 1,000 faces, yet none that could be proven. And with every false lead, the frustration of police and the fear of the public only grew deeper. By the early 2000s, investigators hoped that science could do what decades of detective work had failed to achieve. For the first time, they tested envelopes and stamps from Zodiac's letters for DNA. The world held its breath. If a genetic profile could be extracted, the mystery might finally be solved. But the results were frustrating. The samples were partial, degraded, contaminated by handling. They ruled out some suspects, including Arthur Leigh Allen, yet no match was ever found. Every test ended with more doubt. Each revelation seemed to close one door, while opening no others. For investigators, it was another dead end. And for the public, it meant the shadow of the Zodiac still stretched across time. And so, Zodiac slipped away. The Zodiac did more than terrorize California. He left a shadow across American culture. In 1971, the film Dirty Harry introduced a villain named Scorpio, clearly inspired by Zodiac. The killer taunted police, issued threats, and turned San Francisco into a city of fear, a fictional mirror of reality. Decades later, David Fincher's 2007 film Zodiac brought the case back to the screen with chilling detail. Audiences watched investigators chase leads that slipped through their fingers and felt the same frustration the real detectives carried for years. The story also fueled an industry of obsession: books, documentaries, podcasts, all trying to decode the mystery. In San Francisco, tourists can still walk the streets where Zodiac killed, just as visitors in London retrace the steps of Jack the Ripper. For many, it has become a kind of American Whitechapel, a place where crime history blurs with dark tourism. But beyond entertainment, the case lingers because it is unfinished. Every theory, every suspect, every cipher solved or unsolved leaves a door cracked open. The Zodiac remains a puzzle no one can set aside. And even today, Americans debate the same haunting question. Was he a calculating genius, or just a ghost wearing the mask of an ordinary man? The Zodiac was never caught. No trial, no verdict, no ending. And because of that, he became more than a killer. He became a symbol. His circle with a cross is now as recognizable as the name itself, a mark of fear, obsession, and unanswered questions. For decades, journalists, detectives, and ordinary citizens have all tried to claim the final word, but there is no final word. In this way, the Zodiac joins another phantom from history, Jack the Ripper. One stalked the gaslit alleys of London in the 1880s. The other prowled California's highways nearly a century later. Both wrote to the press. Both mocked the police. Both vanished into legend. Two killers, two mysteries, two shadows that still walk among us. The difference is only in the setting. London fog or California night. The fear feels the same. It is the fear of the unknown. And perhaps that is why the Zodiac endures. Because the story was never finished. Because the final page was left blank. Imagine passing a stranger on the street. You glance at his face. He glances back. And you wonder, is that the man who wrote the letters? Is that the ghost who called himself Zodiac? The Zodiac story has no ending, no confession, no courtroom, no grave with his name carved in stone. Instead, it lingers in whispers, in theories, in the empty spaces of every unsolved cipher. Decades have passed, suspects have come and gone, but the questions remain. Who was he? Why did he stop? And most haunting of all, did he ever stop at all? Some believe he died long ago, his secrets buried with him. Others believe he walked away, blending back into the crowd, living out an ordinary life with extraordinary shadows. Zodiac could have been your neighbor, your co-worker, the man sitting across from you on a bus. Zodiac may have died, or he might still be here, reading these words, smiling,